Good morning, students. Today we are looking at the narrative, The Skunk with No Funk, written by Rebecca Young. Now, before I start reading this book, I would like to remind everyone that we are looking at narratives, and later down the track in this term, we'll be writing our own narrative. So, get your thinking caps on, think about the characters and the settings, and think about how the author has placed and designed the character in the book. Okay, so let's decide about talk about the title, The Skunk with No Funk. What do you think that title may be telling us? Yes, he's got no funk, so what does that mean? Maybe smell? So a skunk usually does have smell, doesn't he? So it would be a little unusual not to have any smell, but maybe the author has, instead of going the skunk with no smell, they've described it as no funk. Okay. Woody was not what his family was expecting. Yes, he was black with two fine white racing stripes. Yes, his fringe was superbly spiky. Yes, his tail stuck up like a glorious sprung of pine. But how can it be? Cried Pa. Oh, it's terrible, cried Ma. For the love of lizards, hold your noses, cried Grandpa. Not a whiff of mud, not a sniff of swamp, not a dash of dung. No smell at all. Woody was a skunk with no funk. How will he frighten a flea, let alone a fox? Wept Ma. And one of the great horned owls tried to snatch him from the meadow one day. We'll never be able to leave his side. Right at that moment, a robin's song drifted into the den. Pa watched as Woody's tail flashed and flickered. Something tells me our boy will be fine. Pong or no pong, said Pa. But as Woody grew, so did his mother's worry. She followed him everywhere, out of the den and along the meadow, through woodpecker scrub, over grasshopper hill and down to porcupine log. Woody slumped on a rock. Being a skunk with no funk was like a yak with no hair or a cowardly bear. It just wasn't fair. You can't follow me forever, Ma, he said. I'm afraid I must, Ma replied. Fringe up, my boy, said Pa. I have an idea. Perhaps we can help you find your funk. Down by the woodpecker scrub, Pa showed Woody how to rummage in rubbish. But after a while, Woody wandered off to bop with a woodpecker. Woody! Yelled Pa. Ma tried too. She led Woody over Grasshopper Hill to show him how to dabble in dung. But after a while, Woody wandered off to hop with the grasshoppers. Woody! Shouted Ma. But Porcupine Log, Grandpa showed Woody how to hide in the hollows. But after a while, Woody wandered off to pop with a porcupine. Woody! No amount of mud or dung could make Woody smell like a real skunk, and no amount of hollows could help him hide how he felt inside. Woody's fridge hung low. He was a failure, a flop, an odorless pop. Just then, Woody heard a robin singing outside the den. His tail flashed and flickered. Wait! He cried as the robin carried the song away into the meadow. Woody scurried outside, chasing the melody. Soon the music was lost and Woody found himself in the middle of the meadow, all alone. Ma, Pa and Grandpa were nowhere in sight. Swift shadows fell fast across him. It was the great horned owls. Woody! Shrieked Ma for Pa. Watch out! Shrieked Pa. For the love of leaves, shrieked Grandpa, the boy is toast. The owl swooped, diving towards Woody. Woody's heart beat faster than a hummingbird's wings, and he had to save himself. But how? Right at that moment, the robin's song returned, loud and clear. Woody flashed and flickered his tail. He tapped his feet. Then he faced the sky and brushed out some of his favourite moves: the woodpecker pop, the grasshopper hop, and the porcupine pop. The great horned owls screeched to a halt. They couldn't believe their eyes. Woody's bopping, hopping, popping froze the owls just long enough for him to scurry back to safety in of the den. You were so groovy, cried Pa. He gets his rhythm from me, cried Ma. For the love of larvae, cried Pa, you blew them away with funk, finished Pa. You were the funkiest skunk they've ever seen. Now we've finished reading the narrative. Just some quick questions from the group. What made this book different? Yes? Skunks, making this skunk different. So Woody, the character, making him different. Okay. Yes. The main purpose of the book is maybe different is good. Different is good. Now let's ask some questions before we divide into our 4 groups. Let's ask some questions. If you were Woody, what would you have done differently at the start of the book? Would you have agreed with your family? Would you have been upset about having no funk? How did you feel? So put yourself in the character's shoes. Later on in the book, when Ma had to follow Woody around, then the third part of the book was when they were trying to teach him how to find some smell himself. And the 4th section of the book is when he found his own funk, his own groove. So they're the 4 groups we're going to be separating into. And just put yourself into Woody's shoes and put yourself into Rebecca Young's shoes. What was she displaying? What was she trying to get across to the reader? And how, if you were Woody, how would you have done differently? How were you feeling? How were you thinking? And how were your emotions? Okay, so read the narrative, The Skunk with No Funk. Reminded the students at the start of the book to put their thinking caps on and to get the students to be aware of the characters, the settings, and any actions that occurred. We then linked the book to Woody was the main character, and the book was broken into 4 sections, and got the students to think about if they were Woody, what would they do, what would they think, what would they feel, and also think about the author Rebecca Young, how she's portrayed Woody in the book and the main messages. So the I do, we do, the you do. The students will then divide into 4 groups, into the 4 sections of the book, and write down dot point sentences, anything they'll like, and they'll answering those questions, and then we'll present it to the class.